Hey, discerning listeners, Love is Blind, Season 4. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. This is the Psychology in Seattle YouTube channel. And as I always say, don't use YouTube as a replacement for therapy. If you need a therapist, get one. You deserve it. Let's watch.
We're literally sleeping on the opposite sides of the bed. We don't touch, zero affection. I was over her on like day 2. Mm-hmm. You know what I thought when I was in Mexico? You were the girl that I was looking for.
That's like so annoying though.
It's fucked up to say.
That's like very annoying to hear that.
I know, I'm just telling you the truth.
Okay, so we're learning that on day 2, he was thinking about leaving the relationship, which makes total sense. It wouldn't take long for that amount of disjointedness between you and someone, particularly because if you'd had a long stretch of a good relationship in person and then you had a couple of days that were bad, that'd be one thing. But it would be very informative that when you meet in person, there's just zero connection and zero energy towards you in any sort of way. Because it wasn't just affection that Irina was not wanting to engage with him, but it seemed also conversationally she wasn't, which would make sense if she was just like, I'm not feeling it with this person. And it wasn't just not feeling it, she was repulsed by him, which is fine. It happens in dating. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say about Irina, and total speculation, is that she was nervous because of the circumstance. I think they all are. I think they often will talk about that when they meet for the first time. The butterflies, their heart will be racing. I think it's just a really stressful situation in a good way. And when we have those feelings, it's related to anxiety. You could argue it is anxiety. It's fear. And when we have that amount of fear, if we have a lot of that nervousness and a lot of that anxiety, it could interfere with your ability to feel comfortable and safe, and thus interfere with our ability to actually feel affectionate or love for somebody. We probably, in most circumstances, need to feel very safe, or at least mostly safe, in order to feel relaxed enough to feel love and affection and attraction to another person. It's possible that if they had had a different ramp up to each other, that it would have allowed for the affection she had for him in the pods to be directed toward the 3D version of him. Like I said, it could have just been doomed because of chemistry from the beginning.
I knew, like, when I told you no, like, as I walked out the door, that I fucked up. Like, I knew it. And it was too late.
You proposed to her, Zack.
I did because I still loved her.
But that's not a reason.
There's more than just one person for people.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's not making the best case. As a lawyer, he's not making the best case. I would be like her. I'd be like, I don't know. Because the way he's framing it, he's saying, I always knew it was you. Well, then why did you propose to her? If Irina was a second to me, then why in the world? So I think a more convincing case, which I think is more accurate, is if Zack were to say, I was very, very much on the fence, as you know, and I had a huge connection with you, and I really wanted to be with you, and I didn't know what to do, and I had to kind of just make a choice, right? And because of this, and this, I thought maybe Irina would be better for me, but I was not sure. I was really connecting with you. It was very hard. And so I took that chance. It turned out to be wrong. I met her in person, and immediately we were not feeling it with each other. She was not feeling it with me, but I don't know if I ever would have felt it for her either. I just think in the pods we connected in a way that was not really solid. And so that's what happened. And obviously I found out that it didn't work out immediately with her. And so I'm sorry for rejecting you, but I think we have a chance. Who knows? But I think we do. And if you would take me back, something like that, I think would be more convincing.
I knew, like, when I told you no, like, as I walked out the door, that I fucked up. Like, I knew it. And it was too late.
You proposed to her, Zack.
I did because I still loved her.
But that's not a reason.
There's more than just one person for people.
I don't know. It makes me, like, question you a little bit.
I got what I deserved, for sure.
Now, the chance of things working out between him and Bliss, I don't think are particularly high either, because even if Bliss entertains this relationship, which is uncertain at this point, what's the chance? It's a roll of the dice. And if I were Zack, I would say that as well. I'd just be like, look, who knows? Maybe you and I won't have any chemistry either. I don't know. Maybe no one wants to have chemistry with me. I don't know. But I'd sure love to give this a try.
Kind of a little bit more nerdy, like.
Yeah. I mean, I am nerdy. I just don't
You
look
are.
like
You
a
just
nerd.
don't look nerdy, yeah.
Which is fine, but I think I sound like a nerd, like my voice, you know?
Yeah, your voice does not match your body for sure.
It doesn't, really? Why is it just like weird connecting my face to my voice?
I just like looking at your eyes.
Huh. Well, at least they're laughing together. So it's heading in a better direction. Interesting conversation that they're having.
Yeah, you have really beautiful eyes.
Thanks. You have pretty eyes too, but I also don't want to give you any compliments right now. So.
Do you find my eye contact to be too much?
No. Why?
good.
Am I looking away?
No, we just.
Yeah, that's a good litmus test. Yeah, the other thing for him, it could be really ego shredding for him. I think for all of us, when someone dumps us and criticizes us in that way, particularly the way Irina was with him, yeah, it could really hard to recover. So he's asking, which is good. It's healthy. It's like, so is my eye contact intense? And she's like, no. Why? Am I doing something? Yeah. Every once in a while, that'll pop into my head. And me and my wife will sometimes, we were in the car last night, and I was just like, Irina called him creepy like 2 or 3 times when they met and was upset at him or making fun of him or telling him to not look at her. And think about the circumstances. Now, if she's uncomfortable, she's uncomfortable. But there's other ways of thinking about that for yourself. If you're Irina, if you're like, oh, this feels weird. And the first thing that pops into your head is, I don't want him to be looking at me. Okay. But if you think about it, if you're differentiated enough, you can look at that and say, I mean, it's an intense situation, but you'd think you'd have a little differentiation in that moment. Say like, well, we're engaged. We're in love, supposedly, and we just met each other in person for the first time. And I'm looking at him. It's mutual eye contact. So why is my eye contact totally fine, but his is creepy and unwanted? Maybe I'm experiencing something kind of odd right now where, I don't know, I'm just uncomfortable or it's overwhelming, or maybe I'm not attracted to him or something. Maybe that's, I don't know. Instead, she just kept calling him creepy, like a 13-year-old would do. She's like, I talked about that back then, that there's not all 13-year-olds, of course, but there's a young person tendency. And, every young person group, when I was young, we had our things that I'm sure would annoy older people. But one of the things that will be bothersome is this very easy accusation of creepiness. It's like, oh my God, creepy. Oh my God, creepy. Ew, creepy, ew. And certainly some things are legit creepy in that there's reasons to believe that someone is wanting to hurt you or is going to hurt you. But there was no indication that Zack was going to hurt her in that moment. There was no indication that he was a predator or something. I mean, because that's what you're saying when you're saying creepy. So you can say you're uncomfortable. You can say picking up a vibe from you, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But especially in that situation, right? Like, why are you looking at me so much? Creepy. There's so many other ways she could have talked about that if she's uncomfortable. So anyway, he asks, essentially, is my eye contact a lot? Am I creepy? Eye contact is good. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's talk about self-awareness. I'm often talking about a connection with the self, a connection with who you are, what you want, what you need, this kind of thing. And how for some people, since they weren't attuned to enough as a child, they don't have a strong connection with the self, and therefore they have to go through a lot of therapy to get in connection with the self. But really, I don't know anyone who doesn't cut themselves off from their needs. None of us were 100% attuned to 100% of the time. And of course, that's where therapy can help everybody. And as a therapist, I've witnessed clients discover mind-blowing aspects of themselves that really helped them in their lives. Well, that's where BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery wherever you are. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient and flexible to your schedule. So discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
I mean, I think I tend to kind of like look around.
I tend to maintain really strong eye contact. What was the first thing? What was the first thing Irina said to me?
That you maintain too much eye contact.
She's like, you don't blink very much. I'm like, fuck you. I'm like,
That's actually funny.
Oh, that's funny. I forgot. So it was, you don't blink. Yeah, that's even a weirder criticism or accusation. Like, so on purpose, you think I'm purposely not blinking? It's an involuntary thing.
I was really like nervous and felt weird about it.
I was nervous too.
Anyway, so it's very like interesting to meet you in person. Super crazy and weird.
Sounds like she is over it, Bliss, and she's just like, okay, well, it's nice to meet you. See you around.
You know, I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose there's a chance that Bliss is going to walk away and think about it. She committed to not committing, and she'll reconsider and maybe re-engage with him. Or she's wanting something more overt from him. She's like, well, I'm on the fence, but he's not being overt by asking me, so I'm not going to initiate that. I'll wait for him. So maybe that's what we're seeing. I don't know.
Do you want to walk to the door? Hopefully we do it again.
We'll see.
Okay, so we see blossoms. So this must have been filmed a year ago in the springtime, maybe almost exactly a year ago.
At least the sun's coming out.
A little bit.
Okay, so they're on Lake Union. You might recognize some of the houseboats featured in the movie Sleepless in Seattle. Is that the movie that had?
What are you doing?
Bliss, you're everything that I've been looking for.
Interesting. Yeah, if they were still in the pods, then this would be what he would do. But given that they aren't in the pods and they're presumably just sort of dating, it's interesting how in the pods it seems natural because that's the show. But when you're not in the pods, it seems like, whoa, you just started dating, pal. What are you doing? But that's the premise of the show, right? And maybe this is his way of making it up to her. Of just like, look, I was basically almost all in with you. It's just I edged towards someone else at the time. So my feelings still stand. I want to marry you. So this is him proving himself to her. But we could also see her in this moment saying, well, no, but maybe one day. Like, let's give it 3 to 5 years of dating and make sure that we are actually a good match.
Yeah. What's this one?
Wow. And by the way, Bliss and Zack sounds like a soap company, maybe a restaurant or a spa. Bliss and Zack, when they showed Bliss and Zack. I don't know. It took me a second. I was like, are they going to a store called Bliss? Oh, no, that's their names. Bliss and Zack. So, okay. Yeah. Well, we don't know much about this couple, really. I guess we'll find out how they gel together. Does this mean they move in together and slide into the whole Love is Blind system? I will say, at this phase, they seem pretty much like a couple that barely knows each other. The way they talk to each other, it's natural. They barely know each other. So there's not a lot of familiarity. Doesn't seem to be a ton of comfort between the two of them. They're on camera, so God knows. But it's hard to, with Tiffany and Brett, you just feel it. You just feel like, yeah, they've already been married for 5 years, haven't they? With this couple, it doesn't feel that way, but who knows?
Yeah. What's this one?
I will say, as far as proposals go that we've seen on this show and otherwise, his was pretty good. It seemed natural, off the cuff, heartfelt. It was well laid out. It wasn't too long. So, it was good. I don't know if he just had prepared it or spoke off the top of his head or is just a natural proposer. I guess he's done it twice. So he had some practice. All right. Well, I have an announcement to make. I don't know if I've said this before, but Psychology in Seattle, the podcast and YouTube channel, is officially almost carbon neutral. We work out of our house. That's our office, and me and Stacy work here, and that's where the bulk of the work gets done. And we got solar panels on our house. It was quite an investment. In Washington State, there's incentives monetarily, but it was not cheap. But every day I look at my app and I can see that even in the springtime in Seattle, which it's not very sunny and there's a lot of clouds, we are close to carbon neutral. And it's possible that over the year we will, I don't know exactly how to calculate everything because of course we have cars, but there's a lot of satisfaction. You know, if you listen to the audio podcast, you know how passionate and how upset I am about climate change and about our government's lack of doing anything. So at least we can say that us as a business, we are doing what we can. You know, usually businesses, they'll say, we're carbon neutral, and I don't know how to analyze that. I'm just going to tell you that the electricity that I'm using right now to light these lights and run this camera and use, watch Netflix right now and stuff, it's offset, I believe, and we'll see by the end of the year, by photons hitting the roof of my house. So I don't know if that matters to you, but it matters to me greatly and is a big weight off my back. The ironic thing is that in Seattle, the majority of our electricity actually comes from hydro, which of course has its own problems with the ecological damage that it causes, but it is renewable. Anyway, take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.